last night. There was a lot of highs and, it was a pretty big low at last night's Dynasty pay-per-view. Let's talk about it on Screw the Script. Normally, I don't like to talk about pre-show matches before the main card, but I will quickly run through. We had a trios tag match between AR Fox and Top Flight versus Crew, which is Action Andretti, and Leo Rush. And then they had Nick Wayne tag with them, and they actually picked up the win. Solid, quick 10 minutes. Well, I don't even think it was 10 minutes. It was like 8-minute match between these guys. And then the highlight of the pre-show, we have that fun gimmick going on right now with Max Caster doing open challenges, and guess who had answered? The lights went out. Everybody was like, okay, are we getting a debut? Is this going to be Josh Alexander, a returning Wardlow maybe? It was Anthony Bowens, the 5-tool player, the pride of pro wrestling is what he also calls himself. He had it all. He had the great entrance song, the look in his entrance. He looked like almost like a Power Ranger in a way. And the match was, shorter than the entrance and the surprise opponent for Caster, but it was still fun nonetheless. And honestly, with the whole presentation, his demeanor, the way he cut a quick promo at the end in front of the camera that was honestly longer than the match. Tony Khan push Anthony Bowens to the moon, give him that huge singles push. I'm not quite sure what they're doing with Max Caster. Is he on the way out? Is he just, kind of putting over Bowens and just doing this fun little comedic gimmick until he leaves AEW for maybe WWE or something else? Or is this going somewhere? I can't remember what their contract details are right now, but I'm enjoying it as it lasts. And if you haven't seen any of them, it's actually a lot of fun watching Max Caster. They upload it to their Instagram page, AEW, and maybe Facebook or other socials, but they always kind of catch up with him after he, inevitably loses another match, and that is, I think, really good too. They follow him around until he tries to run away, and then when he can't go anywhere and he's cornered, he turns around. He's like, okay, hey, like, what do you want now? Yes, I lost again, but I still believe I'm the best wrestler alive. So, I don't know. I think it's fun. Do I miss the Acclaimed? Yes. Do I think this is going to eventually go back to a reunion of the two? Maybe, but if it is, or if that is the case, it's going to be a while. I think they're really going to push Bowens as a singles competitor. That's all I wanted to say real quick on the pre-show. Next, let's get to the main card. This pay-per-view started with a banger, and in my prediction video from a couple of days ago, I predicted that this was arguably going to be match of the night, either this or the triple threat match for Omega's title, and wouldn't you know, I would say both those two were matches of the night. This was just such a heater to start with. I had to go cool off outside on my patio deck after this match. It was fire. It was that good. I've expressed already in a previous video how much I love Kevin Knight, how he chose AEW over WWE. In my last video, I said that the Lucha Bros and Nathan Frazier being in WWE is a huge loss for AEW because of how talented they all are, especially Nathan Frazier at his age. Kind of the same way here with Kevin Knight. Extremely talented. There were, I think, 3 or 4 near falls where you thought, oh my God, is he going to beat Ospreay? Ospreay did end up with the victory at the end, but this was honestly an instant classic pay-per-view match for AEW. And it included a guy who just arrived in AEW a few short weeks back. I mean, the sky's the limit for Kevin Knight. I want to see him just keep getting pushed and pushed. He already got an ovation from Jay White before when they had their match and before Jay White was inevitably injured. Speaking of, real quick, Jay White did cut a promo back on Saturday, I believe it was, for a Collision, saying that, like, hey, like, I did break my hand. Kevin Knight. That's the only reason why you are in this. So I kind of want to see them run it back maybe. He gave him an ovation after their match, and then we saw Kevin Knight get an ovation last night from Will Ospreay. But I could see them, turning this into an angle. Maybe they have Jay White when he comes back healthy from that broken hand, which shouldn't take too long to heal from, maybe a couple months tops. Run it back. Have him feud with Kevin Knight, I think that'd be a great, solid first feud for Kevin Knight to have that lasts, a month or two, and then kind of go on from there. I don't know if that were the case. I don't know if they would push Kevin Knight to get the victory over Jay White, because that may bury Jay White. I'm not quite sure, because Jay White does need to pick up some wins to get back into, title contention, which I'd love to see. But for now, solid first match for Dynasty last night. Next, I just want to kind of run down the other, there's a few matches that happened after that opener that were just, honestly, most of them were matches that I wasn't super excited for, so I'm actually kind of glad that they got them out of the way after that great opening match. So we had the tag title match between the Hurt Syndicate and Big Bill and Brian Keith. It went on longer than I thought it would, but the outcome was exactly what everybody was expecting. We saw the Hurt Syndicate hold on to the titles. Again, this was supposed to be the Murder Machines were supposed to be in this spot, but with Brian Cage getting injured, they had to quickly switch things out last second. Still a fun match, but we saw a very predictable outcome in that match. Then we saw Mercedes take on Julia Hart, more or less the same. We all knew Mercedes was going to win. There was actually a couple of moments where I did think, holy shit, is Julia Hart going to actually pick up the win here? But in the end, it was Mercedes that won. I was kind of hoping that if Julia Hart was to win, that maybe Athena got involved and maybe distracted Mercedes to kind of further their feud. But we didn't see that. We just saw, honestly, a clean victory by Mercedes Moné. Then we saw the Trios title match, Death Riders versus FTR. Again, exactly what I expected was going to happen. I actually got every single match on this card correctly in my prediction video from a couple days ago, except, which we'll talk about later, the main event. This title match was good. It was better than I was expecting it to be, actually. I wasn't super thrilled for it before the pay-per-view started, but they definitely won me over during this match. But the thing to talk about wasn't the match itself. It was what happened after the match. In my prediction video, again, I predicted that somebody was going to turn on somebody. I did guess then that it was going to be one of the FTR guys turning on the other and then feuding for a moment. But instead, and they played this. This was a masterclass of emotions and messing with everybody's emotions for those few short moments. Like, okay, what's going to happen? Is Cash going to turn on Dax? Is Dax going to turn on Cash? Is Edge, or I should say Adam Copeland, still like to call him Edge, but is Adam Copeland going to turn on those two? And then we saw FTR, go back to their heel roots. They turned on Adam, and maybe we see Adam Copeland and Christian Cage team up one last time. I think that's where they're leading this up to. It would be a lot of fun, and FTR is a tag team to do that with. They are arguably still the best tag team in the world, if not top 3 still. So I had a lot of fun with this. Definitely excited to see where it goes, although the way that they attacked Cope, he might be out for a few weeks. He might just take a step back. We'll probably get an explanation at Dynamite on Wednesday from FTR, or at the very least on Collision this upcoming Saturday. Then after that, we had one of the matches I was really excited for right in the middle of the card last night was Toni Storm and Megan Bayne. And again, it went exactly as I predicted it would go. Toni Storm ends up winning, but like I previously stated, she won, but it was more so she just escaped. She escaped the power of Megan Bayne. She won on a quick roll-up. It shocked Megan Bayne. I thought Megan Bayne was gonna jump her after the shock loss, but we didn't see that. And then we saw Toni Storm get carried away by Luther, because honestly, she probably couldn't have walked out on her own power, because most of the match Megan Bayne just obliterated Toni Storm. She put her down and put her down and down and down and just move after move, just a powerhouse. She's got everything. She's got the total package. I expressed in the past that I think she's everything that AEW wanted Jade Cargill to be, but Jade just wasn't. She wasn't ready for that amount of spotlight and that amount of trust for AEW, whereas Megan Bayne clearly won that over pretty quick with Tony Khan. So bravo, ladies. This was, I think, my third match of the night, actually, behind the opener and then the triple threat, which we'll get to in a moment. But Toni Storm retains. I'm excited to see where she goes with this. I don't know if Megan Bayne will be her opponent again, if maybe she gets if she gets a rematch or somehow feuds with her yet again, or we see Megan Bayne move over to Mercedes and then we see some new challenger for Toni. Not quite sure where it's going to go, but I'm excited to see what happens next. Next, we'll talk about, I would say probably the sleeper match and one of the best, probably the fourth best match in my opinion on the card, which I wasn't expecting it to be, was Kyle Fletcher and Briscoe. They really went to battle, and this was a much better match than it needed to be. But I'm glad that we were there for it to all witness how great Briscoe is. Mark Briscoe, even at his age, even though with the tragic loss of his brother, he is still such a fun, energetic wrestler. I loved every minute of this match. We did see Kyle Fletcher eventually pull off the win. And I really think, the Don Callis family is actually a genuinely great stable in AEW because they have really just produced stars for AEW. You got the Proto Star and Kyle Fletcher. You got Takeshita. I mean, you had Will Ospreay kind of with them for a moment. Mark Davis is so-so. And then you got like Cage and Archer, who were supposed to have that tag title match. They didn't end up having that because, again, Cage is hurt. But, yeah, Don Callis family, they're solid stable. And this was a solid match. And Fletcher coming out on top to move on in the Owen Hart Cup, which I have also been correct on that, too, with Ospreay winning and then with him winning and Mercedes winning. So far, I'm 3 for 3 on the tournament. Very fun match. Again, like I said, very surprising how good this match was. It was probably my fourth favorite match on the card. Even more, I liked it even more than the main event, which we'll get to later on. Outside of what happened at the end of it, we'll get to that in a second. But that's my coverage on that match. Jericho Bandito wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. I know it was just supposed to be a gimmicky, like fun sort of refreshing like match to just kind of cool down the crowd for a moment. It was probably the card or the match on the card where everybody got up to take a piss break, get something to eat, drink. Yeah, it just kind of fell flat. I love Bandito a lot. I think it was just a Jericho Vortex, Jericho Dragon. Now that he lost, just right off into the sunset, like I said. Bandito deserves better. Thankfully, he did win the title. We saw Jericho cheat to win, which that part was funny. And then Bandito's family comes in the ring, says, no, like he cheated, like talking to the ref. The ref restarted it, and then Bandito eventually won. But for whatever reason, I feel like Jericho is going to go back to, go back 20 years in time in his head, maybe come up with 1,004 reasons why he should not retire. If anyone gets that joke from early Jericho days, you're a real one. But yeah, like, he just needs to retire. He's going to have some reason why he won't. He's going to maybe change his gimmick up for like the, 8th time now in AEW. He was the Magician, which was kind of lame. He was the Ocho, Learning Tree. He had the inner circle stuff going. Like, there's just a plethora of gimmicks that he's been running in the 6 years that he's been with AEW, and it just, Jericho, you're a goat, but please retire, or at least take a sideline to everybody else and help out backstage and just do some part-time work. do the Samoa Joe approach. Samoa Joe had a good title run, but he knows that he's at the tail end of his career. He's helping get over Hook, but not by taking the spotlight as much as Jericho, because Jericho is that kind of guy who, like, he says that he's helping put people over, but really it's just having people kind of hoist him up to keep him relevant still. That's kind of how I feel it is these last few years. Yeah. Outside of that, it was an okay match, probably my least favorite match on the card besides the Mercedes and Julia match, just because that was so predictable. Garcia and Adam Cole was a blast. Actually, might take it back. This might be my third favorite match, and maybe bump down the Toni Storm and Megan Bayne match. Mainly because of the outcome. Adam Cole finally wins. He beats Garcia. This match was a solid 25, 30-minute match almost, it felt like, if you include entrances. They really just, pulled everything out of each other, beat the shit out of each other, and Adam Cole ends up being victorious. And we see Garcia, for a moment, I thought he was going to do what I predicted, which was turn heel, but he just reluctantly gets up, shows his appreciation towards Adam Cole, and then he kind of just walks off all, disappointed in himself, which rightfully so. He was a solid worker as TNT champ, but it was time for a new one, and it was finally time to see Adam Cole win a singles title in AEW. I've expressed before, he looks a lot better. He's gotten leaner. He's bulked up. He's finally stayed healthy long enough to have a feud and to win a title. And I feel like he's finally on a roll. 2025 is his year to tackle. As long as he can stay healthy and, avoid any further concussions, I think Adam Cole is going to be a great TNT champion in 2025. Next, we're going to go on to the co-main event. I think should have been the main event based off of what happened in the main event, which we'll get to after this. But, oh man. This, I think, was the best triple threat in AEW history, and then arguably one of the best triple threats in the last decade and just in all of pro wrestling. Kenny Omega is still him. He is still, pound for pound, probably the best pro wrestler. He's just so good. And he makes everybody else that he feuds with, every person that he wrestles against, look great. And he did it again last night. Ricochet looked great. Mike Bailey looked great. The ending to that match was one of the most unique and fun, exciting endings to a match I've seen in a while, where you saw Ricochet eat the pin, but Mike Bailey wanted to stop Kenny Omega, but got tied up in that Tree of Woe sort of position upside down. And, he was reaching like, hey, like, damn it, I'm right there, but I couldn't stop him. And it was just, oh man, that was such a good match. And if you were worried that Kenny Omega just couldn't put out 5-star after 5-star match anymore with his bout with diverticulitis, you got to remember he is the best bout machine. That is a very, very fitting nickname for him, because I truly do believe he still is the best pound-for-pound pro wrestler in AEW and probably all of pro wrestling. For sure 5 years ago. And then we saw Okada come out. I think the rumors are true, and what I was kind of hinting at in previous videos, I think they are going to unify those two titles at some point in the future. We're probably going to see the International? Yeah, the International Championship and the Continental Championship unify into one title, which I think is the right move, because I've said before in a previous video, it really just feels like they're one and the same, and there's no reason to have both. Just get rid of one. I think AEW has taken the comments serious where they were once said that they had too many titles. And ironically now, they're the big competition out there, the biggest, company in the world, WWE, has like 5 or 6 more titles than they do. If you account for all of their titles, you account for main card titles, NXT titles, the Speed Championship, which that's fallen flat. Speed is really stupid, and I'm glad that it sounds like it's probably going away. It's just losing steam on X. I think the whole Speed concept, real quick, segue off to the side, really, really dumb, really, really predictable. I mean, if you have a set time limit of these matches, you know that almost all of them are going to end in that time limit, and it just makes it seem more predictable, more fixed, more scripted, basically, and screw the script, kind of. Anyways, off topic there. So unifying those belts, I think, would be great for AEW, and I think that's where we're getting at with Okada coming out. I think that's going to be, honestly, that should probably be the main event for All In. Now that and I'll kind of get to it in a second, now that we have what happened in the main event still going on in the All In, which is only a few months away, maybe they should make this the main event and not the AEW Championship. So, amazing triple threat. Mike Bailey, Speedball, is fantastic. I'm excited to see more of him. Ricochet has done so much better in AEW. He still needs to work on a lot of skills. He is extremely talented in the ring. But overall, I think he's just more interesting in AEW, which isn't saying a whole lot, unfortunately, because he just was never utilized in WWE other than his NXT stint that he had. So I'm glad for him. I'm glad to see that he's getting utilized more, and he's pulling off the heel work really well. He's just a classic douchey heel. So, this was a perfect 5 out of 5 star match for me. Match of the night. The opener was probably a 4.5 star for me out of 5. Second match of the night. But now that we got through all the high points, unfortunately, just like Revolution, the main event ended with it just fell flat. Why in the world is Moxley still champ? This was a big mistake by Tony Khan. You know what this honestly feels like, and this is what it feels like to me. You could disagree with me on this, but it feels like the treatment that Moxley is getting in Death Riders as a whole is the same treatment that Roman Reigns got early on in his career, where Vince was just, shoving him down our throats week after week after week, where Roman just wasn't ready for the spotlight. He was too green in the ring. He wasn't very good on the mic. This is exactly how that feels. It just feels too forced. Nobody wants this. Not even AEW faithfuls at this point want to see Mox still as champ. Everybody last night, including me, this was the only match I got wrong on the card, was expecting Swerve to win the title back, to finally give the main title a refreshing, very, very needed turn. But we didn't see it. We saw the Young Bucks return. I'm going to be honest, for a hair, for like a millisecond, I thought, oh my God, is that Shane McMahon? This may have been where Shane was probably supposed to be placed if all of that fell through, if all that didn't fall through and actually worked out for AEW and Shane did join AEW. I feel like this was the moment where he was supposed to show up. But since about 2 months ago, the word got out that it fell through, I think they kind of just scrapped that idea and made it the Young Bucks, and it was a downgrade. I mean, the Young Bucks are kind of all about themselves lately. Yes, they are a pivotal reason why AEW exists, but I think they just pushed themselves too much, and since they're EVPs, they're allowed to do that, unfortunately. And I just think this was a bad move by AEW. I love AEW. I lean towards AEW over WWE, but I will call it when I see it. I'll call it like I see it. It was just a mistake. Swerve should have won that title, but we didn't see it, so now we're stuck with Mox as champion yet again for at least another month. I don't see him losing it. Honestly, at this point, I think he's going to lose it to Darby Allin after he comes back from his climb on Mount Everest. So it'll probably be at All In at this point. That's where I think this is leading, unfortunately. That's all I really wanted to say. I don't want to keep talking about it because it doesn't interest me. I think they need to change the world title picture. And then when it went off the air, now this wasn't live, but I saw a snippet. I'll actually include it right here.
Get home safely. And one last thing, just for my amusement, fuck Booker T.
Yeah, so we saw Swerve call out Booker T. I'm not too familiar, so I can't comment much on it, on what's going on between those two, but I will read into it. I've been seeing on the internet that some people are in support of Swerve, and then I'm seeing a group of people that are saying this was not the right thing for Swerve to do. So it kind of puts a damper on him as an in-ring competitor. I hope that they can kind of reprise this, and maybe he can, I just hope him and Booker T can make amends. We shouldn't have wrestlers feuding with other wrestlers, especially over social media like this. So honestly, Swerve kind of lost a little bit of respect for him. Only because I don't really know what's going on. I'll look into it more. Maybe I'll actually agree with him once I look into it some more. But as it stands, I just don't think, regardless if he is correct, I don't think that's the way to go about it, especially after a pay-per-view when people are trying to leave home happy after such an abysmal end. And then that was just like the shit cherry on top. So, hey, that was my review for AEW Dynasty last night. This was Maverick with Screw the Script. Thanks for watching.